Hi, this is Charlie at My Messy Fingers. I am making an album that is going to measure 8.5 by 10. The 10 is going to be my longest length for the album, 8.5 coming across. It doesn't matter what size of album I'm making, whether it's an 8 by 8, a 10 by 10, which I just finished, or any other combination of a 9 by 7, 8.5 by 8.5. How I get there will always be the steps I'm about to show you. So you can take this video and apply it to any of the other videos that I have done that you need to make an album to. This is my way of making my albums. There is a plethora of methods out there, and I just simply recommend that you follow what is going to work the best for you. But this is how I get there. I take 2 pieces of chipboard measuring that 8.5 by 10, and I want a spine that's 2.5 by 10. So I've got those cut. How I put these together, I want a 1/4 inch gusset in between these. And the reason for that is as I'm building the album, I am going to be scoring papers in this gusset, and I want to make sure that that gusset's going to handle the volume of paper that it's going to go in it and still close cleanly. I use Tyvek. It is a shipping envelope. You can get them at most office supply stores. You can get them from Uline. But I use Tyvek because it has a no-tear value to it. I love it. It's smooth, it's silky, and when I put my cardstock or designer paper over it, this paper is sliding over the Tyvek on these rough edges, rather than the paper sliding over the rough edges themselves, so that it gives it some flex. This will take all the brunt of the open and close, that constant motion. So what I'm going to do to get started here is I'm going to run a bead of tape. Now I have scored this. This is 2 inches. I've scored it at 7/8 and 1 1/8 because that's going to be my gusset. And you can see how that creates this little gusset piece that's going to go in there. I'm going to tape right along that first score mark. I don't want this lifting at this portion, at this place on the album, so I'm going to tape right there. And then I'm going to come in and place another piece of score tape. Come to the other side. I need to burnish that real quick. Where's my, because it's got some pockets in it, air pockets. Okay, and then I'm going to come just to the other side of that second score line. And then my second strip of tape. Now it's really important to burnish this really well. You always want to burnish your tape so that you get out all the air pockets, get out any of the creases, because if air gets in there, that's what dries the tape out, and that, in my opinion, is what creates your album failure, where it starts to separate. Okay, so here we go. This is the second gusset on this piece. And like I said, it doesn't matter what size. It's just, this is my process. If you're comfortable with a process that you've been using, by all means, use it. Because in the end, the album's always going to get to the same spot. Okay. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to remove just one of those strips. I'm going to cozy right up to that score line, right over that tape. And I'm going to burnish that. And then let's remove this one. I only remove one strip at a time because if I've got to get into this for any reason or fix a mistake, I'm not taking up a bunch of tape. So I'm going to cozy right up to that score line, lay it down, burnish that one, take this off. Now we're going to repeat that process for this side. I'm going to come right up to that score line. Press that down. Burnish. Off. Come up to my score line. Take that off. Okay, so there we have that piece. Now I have pre-cut for this album 2 pieces of white cardstock. I want there to be approximately an inch top and bottom. So I'm going to just scoot that up there that way. And I want to make sure that this is sitting at an inch. Okay. Now, I've got this stopping right here in the middle because I want this seam to be in the middle of my spine. I don't want it anywhere near my gussets because that is a weak spot in any album. So I've measured approximately 3/8 of an inch, put my tape down, and then I'm going to just kind of cozy right up there, tack it down. Now I should be an inch all the way around, and I'm going to make some marks so I'll know where to lay this. Whoops. When it comes to now, here on the back side, I am going to start right here at this edge of the chipboard. That's where I want my tape. I'm going to kind of double tape right there. You can use larger tape if you choose. Some fairly decent coverage. Now I'm going to use the 3/8 again on this side, run it up the edge of that chipboard, and then this side, run it up along that. And then I'm going to take, run a piece up the middle. And then I'm going to come in here on this side. And I do this because this is where the expansion is going to take place and it's going to be moving around. So I want to make sure that I've got some good tape coverage there when I put the paper down. Now we're going to give it just a really super good burnish. All right, so we'll bring this back. Can't look at things upside down, so I gotta get my numbers going the right way. Okay, roughly line that back up in there, and I am going to come in here and I am going to take this center piece of tape off, and then I'm going to give this a gentle tug because I don't want these collapsing in on each other, because then you're going to end up with something that's going to look wonky like this. Now, I only take one piece of tape off at a time, as I've stated, because if I have to get in here for any reason, I don't want to blow through my undo trying to get all this tape off. Sorry for my flopping around, folks. Good old burnish. Now I'm going to take off these two here. And because I've got my centerpiece done, I don't have to worry about things sliding, and I'll show you what I do here in just a second. Okay, again, when I'm laying this down, I'm giving this a gentle but firm tug so that this 1/4 inch gusset doesn't disappear on me and that it stays even all the way down. Now we're going to do the reverse side. Whoops. Snag the tape. I just not burnished that very well. Okay, grab this. Again, a nice firm tug. Lay it down. All right, now have to use one of these because all the years of playing with tape, I have dried out the skin on my fingertips and on the edge of that finger, so I have to protect it. Okay, now I'm going to miter my corners. Where's my... I don't think I'm going to have straight corners because I can see I didn't get this panel straight, but it will work. It'll work out. It always does. This tool that I'm using, by the way, is a mitering tool that I stumbled across on another craft site. It's called colorwayarts.com. It's a 2-in-1 miter. It's got some weight to it, so it's not sliding around on you. I don't know why that looks awfully big to me. Let's trim that a little bit better. There we go. Now, all the way across here. Okay, start in the middle. Press. Okay, let's reverse this. Off. There we go. Now, if I gotta good miter, this should just push in, down, flatten it down, and I should get a tight corner. Every once in a while I fail. So it's one of those things when you're working album corners, you either get a good miter or you don't, but I'm not going to worry about it because I think by now you all know how to hide a boo-boo. Here. Okay, so you can see right now how we have some nice corners here on this album, and we have lots of room for everything to gently fit inside. Now, on both sides of this chipboard, I'm going to gently score that in there along each side. Be careful when you do this because you don't want to tear your cardstock. And if you do, if that happens, just run a bead of glue in there so that it prevents the paper from continuing to tear. So I don't know if you can see that you can see that there's some nice gussets there. Now where my spine is going to go, on my inside piece, I want to trim that just a hair. I don't want it always right to the end, so we're going to take a smidgen off. So this piece is going to come right in here like this. This is 6 inches across by probably at this point 9 7/8 because I don't want it coming all the way to the end. Now what I'm going to do is we've got this piece of chipboard that's sitting in there. I'm going to get this as even through here as I can. So if that's my middle, and 1 1/4, because it's 2 1/2, 1 1/4. So I want these two to line up. And if you can see that, right there is the edge of that chipboard. I want to make a pencil mark right there. And I want to make a pencil mark on the corresponding side. Now what I'm going to do is score each of those marks. Oops, I scored the wrong one. I scored the middle one. Doesn't matter because it's going to get hidden. Then I'm going to crease over. So now this piece, I'm going to tape the underside as well as the two wings, and it's going to fit right in here. So let's go ahead and get that going. Use 5/8, so coming across here. And I'm gonna have a little bit of overhang, but I'd rather have it, I don't want any gaps on this. So I'll deal with it here in just a second. Okay, burnish. Now I'm gonna come out here. And I'm going to run. Now, if you've got wide tape that would do this, I don't, so I use the widest tape that I have. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to take off just one piece. And I'm going to come in here. Just going to sneak up to that bottom edge. And then I'm going to line that up along the chipboard. And then I'm going to come in here and remove. Come on. The tape. Okay. Now, before I do that, I need to do some cleanup here. I'm not sure how I made that mess. Okay, that's better. All right, now, when I pull this tape up, this is the strip that's going to go right over, if I can get it up, it's It's going to go right over the gusset. So what I don't want to do is press down on the paper itself too prematurely, because what I want to do is very gently lay this down, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sneak right up to this chipboard side, and I'm going to burnish, and then I'm going to come over here to the other side, and I'm going to very carefully come in here and burnish, and then I will flatten this down. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. Very gently. Come in here, and then I'll sneak over here to this side, and then flatten it. So now I've got my gussets. We have really clean peaks in here where everything comes together. Okay. Now, my spine piece, I'm going to measure. I don't want these showing later on. I don't want this piece any wider than this piece is. So coming up next to this, I'm going to cut it right, and I'm going to trim it right there. Okay. Now, I am going to put, I need to trim that just a smidgen. If you, like I said, if you have a different way of doing this, go for it. It doesn't matter to me. It's just, this is the way I do it. Now, I'm going to put my, what I call my pages onto this, and then on those pages is where, once we build our signatures, they'll get attached to the pages. So I want, I think there's going to be 3 of them. Because it's a 2.5-inch spine. I like to keep a 5/8 gusset in between each of the pages. So let's go ahead and get this cut. And I'm one of these that once I've got it cut, I like to mark it. I trim it to fit. So I'm taking my spine piece and I'm going to trim right here. I wrap my albums with 65-pound cardstock, but when I make my pages, I'm using 100-pound cardstock. I want there to be some stoutness to these. So now I'm going to come in and I am going to score this. I'm going to score this at 5/8. then I'm going to put my tape, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Oh, goodness sakes. What just happened there? The tape came off the... See, that's because my finger's so dry, it just grabs that tape. So I better put my fingertip on. I should have gotten rid of that earlier. All right, now take this tape off. Oops, before I do that, I almost made a mistake. Well, it's okay, I can fix it because I want to show you what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm going to take this edge right here and I'm going to come and bring it, sneak up right to this edge, matching up my corners. And then I'm going to press it in place. Now, when this is in the album, it's going to be in the album this way. What I don't want, and it might be easier to show you if I put this on the bottom page, so I'm going to center this in there. What I don't want is my signatures to push out beyond the edge of the album. So I'm going to come in here anywhere from 1/4 to 3/8, and because I know what I'm going to be doing on this album, I'm going to come in about 3/8 of an inch because I'm going to be doing some build up. And I just don't want it to come out beyond the album opening. Okay, so that means this piece ended up being, that doesn't work white on white, does it? This piece ends up being just a hair over 9 1/4. So I could, if I wanted to, trim this down to so that it is right at 9 1/4. And I think I will do that. Sorry, this is my big cutter. I burn through blades if I run thick, heavy cardstock through my smaller paper trimmer, so I use this. All right, so now I'm going to make 2 more pages that are going to measure roughly 9 7/8 by 9 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and get those 2 cut. So I want 9 7/8 by 9 1/4. Nine 7/8. Nine 1/4. And then I'm going to score at 5/8 each of these. I don't know why, but that just visually didn't look like it was the same size. Okay. Now, the reason I build a 5/8 gusset is because I don't want my pages bunching. So when I build a page, I want them to come up and gently nestle in with each other. I don't want them smashed, because then you're ruining your signature. I'm going to try and do this with a 5/8 strip. Sometimes these tapes are a little bit wider than, or my cuts off. Maybe it's that one. And there's that one. Okay, now we're going to come in here. I'm going to flatten this down. Take this tape off. And I'm going to take this edge here and I'm going to come right up, snuggle it right underneath the edge of the page that I just laid down. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same with this one. Come right up. I'm having a hard time seeing. Get my head out of the shot there. Now, what I have here, what I've built, I've got a 5/8 gusset here at the beginning, and I've got a 5/8 gusset here at the end. So I'm going to make sure that these are down here really good. Now, on the back side of this, because this is what's going to go down, I am going to tape this whole underside. And then this last one. Air pockets, silly little folds you manage to get when you're putting tape down. Now I am going to remove an inside strip, just like I did when I built this. And I'm going to come in here, lay it right up to this chipboard edge, set it down. I'm going to press that piece into place. And then I'm going to come in here and take the rest of this tape off. Now, if you're brave enough, you can take all your tape off and lay the whole thing down. I've had to remove it too many times, so I won't do that. Okay, so I'm going to give these a couple of really good burnish. Okay, so there. Now, I do not worry about covering these side panels because it's a waste of cardstock in my opinion. Designer paper is going to go over this. My signature build is going to go over both of these. But that is your album, which is 8.5 by 10 with a 2.5 inch spine, and all that paper we put in there, we still have some very nice bend in the elbow of this with all that in there. And there you go. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'll be happy to answer them.